And as introduced, my name is Joyce Samuelu Ah-Leong. Currently based out of Solomon Islands as a FFA staff. It's really good to see a lot of familiar faces. So I know I'm not going to be too nervous because I was struggling a bit to think how I can present this. And in the Solomons we say good fala morning o keta. And yes, so this is a brief presentation, and I'm really glad I followed Professor Need's presentation. That was really useful to look at the global context, you know, the complex problems with fisheries, the many different types of fisheries. And I picked on one of the words that you mentioned in your slide, looking at collective intelligence, because that's pretty much the work of FFA in the past 45 years, working collectively to try and address tuna fisheries management and development in our little part of the world. And also taking another one from your slide, the global context into the regional perspective. So yes, this is sort of our regional perspective into tuna fisheries management and its challenges. And I really enjoy this project, Catfish, and I thank the coordinators for inviting me. Okay. So yeah, just a brief background. It's a very brief presentation. I'm also very, very happy to see the agenda that I have colleagues and former colleagues who are presenting later. So they will be the ones talking, you know, on focusing on the key issues, particularly in relation to IUU, but mine is pretty much an overview and how FFA as a whole is trying to, you know, address the many challenges. So yes, just presentation outline, very brief background on FFA as an agency and our members, what tuna fisheries is to the members, briefly also on the strategic guidance for the work of FFA, and the approach that was agreed years ago. And you know, the work is continuing to not only establish this approach, but also strengthen moving forward. Where we are with the implementation, the challenges, and what we see as opportunities. So yes, I think 2 months ago, or maybe a month ago, I'm sorry, we celebrated 45 years of the establishment of FFA. So 45 years of cooperation. And it's an alliance of 17 Pacific Island countries. I think I have a map there somewhere. The mission that FFA has, it's empowering members to take collective and national actions for the sustainable use of offshore fisheries resources. Us as an agency, our current role, or has been a continuous role over the years, is to foster the regional cooperation amongst the membership. It's ever challenging with the many problems, one particularly IUU, but it is also something that members continuously are very committed to. Our governance is through our Farm Fisheries Committee, and this is the ministerial body. I think they meet once a year where they are the decision makers. And then you have the senior officials, or what is known as the Farm Fisheries Committee officials that meet more frequently to develop and make recommendations for the minister's decisions. So that's a very brief look at FFA and sort of the work that we do. But what does tuna mean? Tuna fisheries means to this group of islands. So as mentioned, 17 Pacific Island countries. Perhaps I should just name it for the sake of those who do not know. Up north, we have Marshall Islands, FSM, Palau. You have Nauru, Kiribati. Then west is Papua, Australia. Central with Solomon Islands, Tuvalu, Tokelau. East with Cook Islands, Niue, coming in, Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, Vanuatu. And then south with New Zealand. So 17 Pacific Island countries, and has an estimated area of 30 plus million square kilometers. This is from the 17 EEZ. So yes, I think in the climate change world, there's a saying we are big island ocean states, or big ocean states. So that's what it means. And from the 17 EEZs, recent estimates, we produce 30% of the global tuna catches. I think the estimate value is around 2.6 billion. I'll have to get back on that. But from the FFA waters, and this is really important to the FFA members, the revenues or the access for members from these fisheries in our waters is around 480 million. Sorry. And with export earning of up to $900 million. So I mentioned the value, the estimated value of around 2.6 million. That doesn't cover it. So there's still a lot of work from this body, from the FFA, sorry, in making sure that the resources or the benefits from these resources are to the members. The strategic guidance for the work that we do, there's an FFA strategy. I can provide the link to all these documents I'm getting this, the information and data from. So the vision is quite simple, is that our people enjoy the greatest possible social and economic benefits from the sustainable use of our resources. Again, I pick up on the presentation earlier on the human side of it. And I think members, particularly my colleagues in the room, will agree. Our Director General, who's just completed her 6 years of reign last week, her favorite saying is, fisheries management in FFA is for the people, for the people, for the people. So we do really recognize with the human side of fisheries management. Strategic objectives, there are 6 of them, and these I think have been since the start of FFA, and it reflects the importance of these. One is offshore fisheries as ecologically sustainable. This is critical to the members, particularly countries that are so dependent on these fisheries. Equally important are members' rights to these fisheries. So we have an objective where members' rights are well defined, particularly with climate change, as you know, is the single most biggest threat now to us as Pacific Islands. So FFA members' offshore fisheries rights are well defined and also are secured and protected. And then we talk about the economics of the fisheries. The benefits are optimized and for members within the context of sustainable fisheries. Again, another important, and I think this training really contributes to that, and that is the capacity of our people, empowerment of our own people to be in a position to effectively manage fisheries, at national, sub-regional, and regional fisheries context, or cooperations amongst the many different actors within this space. And then also the Secretariat continuously be in a position to provide very high quality advice and services. So these are sort of the strategic objectives that I think in a way sets out the roadmap or the way in which FFA operates, both in all the different aspects of fisheries management, but also fisheries development. So what is the approach that FFA has taken, to the management of these fisheries? So zone-based management. Zone-based management is a multi-jurisdictional form of rights-based fisheries management that establishes total limits on catch or effort across participating EEZs, and then allocates these to each coastal state's EEZ. A zone-based approach means that coastal states holds the right to the fishery not only determining who can fish in their waters, but how, in terms of how much you can catch or the level of effort. And this approach is in contrast with the flag state based limits. The flag state based approach is commonly known in international fisheries, where allocations is based on catch histories, and where coastal states only have controls over who can enter in their waters, and then catch rights are allocated to the flag states. While flag state-based management has been the norm in international fisheries in the past, it has had an effect in undermining the ability of coastal states to the management of the stocks within their EEZs, but also optimizing economic returns from these stocks. So zone-based management is the approach that FFA is driving to ensure that there's sustainable management of tuna fisheries within the Western Central Pacific Ocean, and that the sovereign rights of these coastal states are well established and recognized. So the transitioning of management approaches at the WCPFC level to using harvest strategies is a positive move to FFA members, as it further supports the zone-based management that FFA have been working on. So what does it look like within the FFA context? We have the Palau arrangement, and so this is an arrangement within the parties to the Nauru Agreement, or commonly known as a P&A. The Palau arrangement is the implementing arrangement, for the Vessel Day Scheme. So as you all know, the P&A was established in 1982, and the Palau arrangement determines the level of per se in fishing or limits within the P&A countries, and then each EEZ is provided a party allocation effort, where it is managed through the Vessel Day Scheme. Sorry. Then you have the Tokelau arrangement. The Tokelau arrangement was established in 2014, and this is between the South and Pacific longline fishing countries. There's 11 of them in total, and it looked at improving cooperation for the management of South and longline fisheries. And then more recently is the South Pacific Group. So these are the 6 southern SIDS within the FFA members, strengthening cooperation for the management of South Pacific albacore fisheries. So there are sort of 3 different types of zone-based management that are being implemented at a sub-regional level, but all these are discussed and agreed to at the FFA level to ensure that the region is supportive of the different types of sub-regional arrangements. How do we do that? So there are a number of arrangements, systems and tools that have been employed by the FFA, by the members over the years. So one is entry into treaty level agreement for direct cooperation, coordination of monitoring, surveillance, and enforcement. Again, I'm just highlighting these as I understand there will be my colleagues who will be presenting on this in more details. So we have the Niue Treaty Agreement, and its subsidiary agreement that sort of put into actions the strengthening of coordination and cooperations on monitoring and surveillance and enforcement. FFA members have set uniform terms and conditions for access by any foreign vessels within the membership, entering for fishing in the membership waters. These are known as the harmonized minimum terms and conditions, and this is the key guidance to the national licensing condition, making sure that the membership is standardized in how they provide access to these foreign vessels. There's an established centralized vessel monitoring system tracking all tuna fishing vessels activities within the membership. And then I am sure there's a lot more advancement to that. There is now a regional fisheries surveillance picture, which I think will also be discussed in more details later. There's an implementation of a comprehensive data and resource sharing frameworks to empower all members. One such the information ISMS policy. And I apologize, I forgot what the other acronyms are, but it's to do with information, I think, sharing management. So there is very stringent policies in place to ensure that not only the Secretariat manages and holds these data, but also the data sharing rules that needs to be obeyed by all members. The strengthening of compulsory catch and effort data monitoring, reporting of all fishing activities in zone. And I think when we talk strengthening, we're talking about electronic reporting, the movement towards electronic reporting. A number of members have rolled out compulsory electronic reporting. Understandably, it comes with a lot of costs, but there's a strong recognition by all members on how important this is. And then I think the very important one is the review and strengthening of complementary and compatible national fisheries legislative and policy frameworks. And this is so important because at the end of the day, it is with the members, it is with national administrations that implement some of these regional policies or regional agreements that we have. And without compatible national legislative regulations and policies, then there will be a loophole in there somewhere where I know a lot of fishing industry crews or fishing companies like to take advantage. So these are one of the critical work of the FFA is working at a national level to make sure that not only our members fully understand the regional concepts of the work that we do, but they are capable as well on implementing these. The challenges. Yes, the biggest one, the WCPO tuna fisheries is full, and we've known that for some time. There is overcapacity, particularly on the high seas. So there is an urgent need for setting of catch and effort limits on the high seas. And we thank the WCPFC because that is the sole role of the Western Central Pacific Fisheries Commission. Some of the challenges we do know is the watering down of decisions from strong scientific advice due to self-vested interests. As you know, fishing is a resource use sector, so there's always the push of boundaries on what should be qualified as science and what is not. So there's continue to be that. And then the other one is the disproportionate burdens on SIDS, particularly the increase of obligations at the WCPFC. I can think back, there used to be just 35 measures. There is now a lot more. And from those measures, I think there's about more than 100 reporting and implementing obligations. I think there was an agreement recently for WCPFC and its compliance monitoring scheme to focus on just 60 or 50 per year. And this is solely because of the, this disproportionate burden on members, on particularly SIDS. And opportunities. So all the work that FFA that I've just briefly gone through, is within zones, within the zones of members. And so we try and take that to WCPFC and demand compatibility at the Western Central Pacific Fisheries Commission, particularly on the high seas. As I mentioned, yes, the WCPFC is mandated to manage highly migratory fish stocks in the high seas, but these fish stocks are highly migratory, so there's a need to manage the stocks throughout their range. So hence the compatibility push. What we do in the EEZ should be done as well on the high seas. And doing that, it is to be through the sovereign recognition of the sovereign rights of coastal states. There's also a call for stringent monitoring and reporting and enforcement on the high seas. And I think there are people in the room who know a lot more on this that they can speak to later on. But again, so those are the opportunities that we see. Not only achieves the goals or the objectives set out by FFA members, but also for the sustainable use of tuna fisheries in the WCPO. So with that, as I said, it was a very brief presentation. Thank you, Thomas, everyone.